Hello friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 28th of March and we will be dealing with three very important topics which are in news. The first is the gold monetization scheme which has been discontinued. The scheme was launched in 2015 but now due to the market volatility and the performance of the scheme, it has been discontinued. But it has not been discontinued completely. Actually, there were three categories of gold deposits: short term, medium term, and long term. You had to deposit your gold, you could earn interest on your gold, and after the maturity period, you could take back either the amount of gold which you deposited or an equivalent amount of gold of that time. If you are taking back the gold, it is not necessary that you will get back the gold in the same form in which you deposited. The government has discontinued medium and long term. The short term still remains, and it is up to the banks, RBI basically, to decide upon the rules and regulations with respect to it. The second topic which we will be covering is the Delhi joins National VIDHAN application, NEVA. This is an attempt by the central government, that is Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs, to digitize the parliamentary proceedings. Not only the parliamentary proceedings, but all the legislative proceedings in the country. So apart from the parliament, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, the state legislative assemblies are also expected to be part of it. All the bills which are being tabled, all the proceedings which happened, all the developments which happened will be there on this digital app. This will also fulfill the dream of one nation, one application with respect to legislative procedures. And the last topic which we will be covering is Commission on Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture. The 20th meeting of this organization, which was established by Food and Agricultural Organization in 1983, was ongoing in Rome. The main aim of this grouping is to preserve the genetic diversity of food as well as, forest reserves. Genetic diversity definitely will play a key role, or it will be very vital in maintaining the sustainability and reducing the risks of becoming extinct. Then we will be dealing with the MCQs based on these three topics and discuss the answers to the MCQs of yesterday. So let's get started with the first topic, that is the gold monetization scheme. Now this was also a requested topic, but yes, this was in news, so this had to be covered. So it has been discontinued. The 26th of March, this decision was taken. But yes, if I say that this scheme has been discontinued completely, I would be wrong. Actually, what this scheme is all about, gold monetization scheme. You can monetize your gold. Indian households have a lot of gold reserves with them. It has immense cultural value. Now that gold is lying idle in your lockers, in your safes. What the government thought was, bring in that gold, deposit that gold with the government, and you could earn interest on that gold. Depositing that gold with the government could actually reduce the government's demand of gold. It could contribute to the forex reserves of India. And since we import gold, there will be ample gold available with the government. If the people deposit their gold, there will be reduced demand for import of gold, thereby having a considerable amount of impact on the current account deficit of the country. That was the thought process behind the scheme. And for whatever time period you deposited your gold, there were three categories: short term, medium term, and long term. So for whatever time you deposited your gold, you would be earning interest on that gold. That is what monetization means. And by the end of that period, you would be getting the gold amount, a gold in the same amount which you deposited. Let's suppose you deposited 100 grams of gold, you will be getting 100 grams of gold back, not in the same form. It is not compulsory that you are depositing a chain, so you will be getting a chain, that same chain. No, it can be in different form. Or you can get access to equivalent amount of money of that time while you are withdrawing. So this was the scheme. But now the government has discontinued medium term and long term deposits under gold monetization scheme, and it is effective from 26th of March 2025. Short term deposits which are of 1 to 3 years will continue at the discretion of individual banks depending on commercial viability, and Reserve Bank of India will release detailed guidelines regarding this matter, short-term deposits. So this is basically the scheme, but yes, let us look into more details. The background of this scheme, it was launched in 2015 by the Narendra Modi government. It was introduced as an improved version of the earlier gold deposit scheme and gold metal loan scheme. The scheme aimed to mobilize idle gold and bring it into the formal economy to reduce India's gold imports. Gold imports should reduce and subsequently the current account deficit could reduce. Gold monetization scheme had three components: short-term bank deposits 1 to 3 years, medium-term government deposits, here you were depositing to the government 5 to 7 years, and long-term government deposit 12 to 15 years. Details of the scheme: under the gold monetization scheme, gold deposits could be made by individuals, institutions or government entities also, and these could earn interest and be redeemed in either cash or gold upon maturity, but not in the same form. If you are redeeming it in the form of gold upon maturity, it is not compulsory that it will be in the same form. The form can change. Impact of discontinuation. So, no new deposits will be accepted under the medium-term government deposits and long-term government deposits components. However, existing deposits will continue until redemption, until they complete their maturity. Whatever deposits have been done in medium and long term, they will be there. The discontinuation follows a trend where the government has also discontinued the issuance of sovereign gold bonds due to a rise in gold prices. So, government is also now not issuing sovereign gold bonds because there is high volatility in gold prices. Sovereign gold bonds were papers issued by the government so that, and these papers were linked to the price of gold. This was being done by the government to reduce the dependence on physical gold. Imports would be reduced and that was the ultimate aim. So, government has also discontinued sovereign gold bonds over here also along with gold monetization scheme because there's a lot of volatility in the gold prices. So, types of gold deposits under the gold monetization scheme. Short-term gold deposits, tenure 1 to 3 years. Bank use these deposits for domestic needs and lending. It can be redeemed in cash or gold. If you are redeeming in gold, not necessarily in the same form which you have deposited, can be redeemed. Medium-term gold deposits, tenure 5 to 7 years, utilized by the government and RBI for gold reserves. Redemption only in cash. And long-term gold deposits, 7 to 12 years, used for monetary policy and reserves, redemption only in cash. So, medium term only in cash, long term only in cash was redeemable, and this is where the scheme was not so successful because, as I said, that there is the cultural sentiment attached with gold of Indians, and you are taking the gold from Indians, but you are not giving them back the gold. Either in any form you are not giving them back, you are giving them back cash. That was a problem. So, scheme was not so successful. Interest rates for short term was decided by the banks based on market conditions and international lease rates. For medium and long term deposits, the interest rates was decided by the government in consultation with RBI, 2.25% for medium term bonds and 2.5% for long term bonds, 12 to 15 years. Additional gold rates scheme, the sovereign gold bonds discontinued recently. The scheme issued bonds in denomination of 5 grams, 10 grams, 50 grams and 100 grams. So, these were papers issued and the value of these papers were indexed with gold. They were linked with gold. And people used to buy it who used to buy gold for investment purposes. They used to earlier buy physical gold, but now they can buy paper gold, or I would say sovereign gold bonds. But these have also been discontinued because of high volatility. Indian Gold Coin Initiative, launched alongside the gold monetization scheme and sovereign gold bond scheme in 2015. This introduced India's first ever national gold coin featuring the Ashok Chakra emblem. And basically both of them have been discontinued, and this particular move by the government is part of government's broader strategy to manage India's gold reserves and to adapt the changing market dynamics, especially amid rising gold prices. So let's see how things happen. Now, the next piece of news is Delhi joins the National VIDHAN application. So, Delhi Legislative Assembly, Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs and the Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi signed a tripartite agreement. These three parties were part of this agreement, where the Delhi Legislative Assembly has decided to become part of this portal. And by doing so, Delhi has become the 28th state or UT to be on the national VIDHAN application. So there are already 27 states and UTs which were part of it, but now Delhi becomes the 28th. Now what is this national VIDHAN application? It is an application where all the legislative proceedings of the Delhi Legislative Assembly will be posted. All the bills which are there in pipeline, which have been passed, which are under discussion, all the orders issued by the Legislative Assembly of Delhi, or any happening in Delhi Legislative Assembly will be posted on the national VIDHAN application. This aims to bring transparency and efficiency in the legislative processes. So, mission mode project is going on across the country for digital legislatures using artificial intelligence and Internet of Things. So, one nation, one application is the ultimate objective of this. About NEVA, it is an online platform designed to digitize the legislative processes across state and union territory assemblies in India. It aims to enhance efficiency, transparency and sustainability in legislative functions. Sustainability, why? Because the need for papers will reduce. That is why it is environment friendly also. Now, features of NEVA, it is device agnostic. It can be accessed via smartphones, tablets, laptops and desktops. It is multilingual. It is in multiple languages in India which are being used, since state legislative assemblies have to be brought on this platform. So, definitely it has to be multilingual. Real-time access provides real-time access to legislative documents such as agendas, bills, reports and proceedings. And it is a secure digital repository, ensures confidentiality and integrity of legislative data. It is not like every data of the legislatures will be open in the public. Whatever has to be open in the public, it will be open in the public. Actually, respective legislative assemblies have their respective websites. But yes, this NEVA application is one application where all the 28 legislative assemblies or parliament, Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, they have all their data over there. Benefits of NEVA. It will enhance transparency, no doubt about the fact. It is paperless operations. By digitizing all legislative functions, NEVA aims to reduce paper usage. That is why it is environment friendly. Empowered legislators, provides digital tools to members of the Legislative Assembly to improve their legislative work. It will become easy for them to get access to all those documents and all which they have to get, for getting them they run from pillar to post. Improved workflow streamlines the coordination between legislators and the Assembly Secretariat, ensuring more efficient management of legislative business. Yes, workflow is improved. Support from MOPA, Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs, has extended full support for the onboarding and training of stakeholders to ensure a smooth transition to NEVA. Platform hosting, it is hosted on Meghraj 2, India's cloud infrastructure, ensuring scalability, security and data integrity. The vision of one nation, one application is also being fulfilled. This digital shift aligns with the Prime Minister's vision to create a unified, transparent and efficient legislative system across the nation. So, all these are benefits of NEVA. Who are the key stakeholders in NEVA? So, obviously, state legislative assemblies, the various dignitaries over there, the legislators. First among them are the key stakeholders. Members of the Legislative Assembly can access all House business bills, questions and reports through this platform. Second key stakeholders is ministers, since India is having this overlapping nature of executive and legislature. So ministers are part of the legislature. So second level of stakeholders is ministers. This app enables ministers to manage parliamentary work, including responding to questions. Assembly staff. The application helps Assembly Secretariat staff in managing legislative tasks. Public access. Citizens can access legislative information promoting transparency. So for citizens, for the workforce, or I would say the assembly staff which is there deployed over there in the legislative assemblies, ministers, they can respond to questions being asked on this application only. So this has made their work easier, and everything is official because this application is issued by Government of India, Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs. So this kind of steps are, I would say, important, and in the times to come where technology will definitely be at the core of everything, then why not at the legislative processes? It will definitely enhance efficiency of the legislators as well as the ministers. Apart from it, it will increase transparency because it is giving access to the citizens also whatever work is being happened in the legislative assemblies. Now the last topic, that is the Commission on Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture. Genetic resources. First of all, genes. What are genes? So in an organism is made up of various, I would say, organs. It can be humans or it can be plants. Now, plants is made up of various organs. Organs are made up of tissues. Tissues are made up of cells. Inside the cell there is nucleus, and nucleus is, inside the nucleus there are genes. This is, I would say, the map. And when reproduction happens, so genes from one organisms enter the other organisms, and then an offspring is produced. Now, due to small genetic variations, lot of genetic diversity happens, and more the genetic diversity is, lesser are the chances of that particular organism to go extinct. If genetic diversity is very limited, then there are more chances of that particular organism to go extinct or become vulnerable or become critically endangered. So it is very important, very important for us to maintain the genetic diversity. Genetic diversity can help any organism survive in different conditions. It is basically the genetic makeup which decides the resilience of the body, or I would say the overall functioning of the body. And this Commission on Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture is specifically focusing upon agricultural crops and forest products, so that at this level genetic diversity is maintained. Now, why this was in news? Because there was this 20th regular session from 24th to 28th March, and that was hosted in Rome, and that is why we are discussing this. So CGRFA, Commission for Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture. Commission for Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture. The 20th meeting of this was there, hosted in Rome. 24th March started, today it is ending. This week-long session brought together global stakeholders to discuss the conservation of genetic resources for food and agriculture. Conservation of genetic resources. That was the main objective of this particular grouping or this particular organization. Focus areas for discussion: conservation of genetic resources. Strategies for conserving plant and forest genetic resources was discussed, highlighting the role of genetic diversity. Then genetic diversity in climate adaptation. Climate change is a big threat to genetic diversity nowadays, and the species are adapting to climate change. Now, how this genetic diversity will be maintained? The importance of genetic diversity in adapting the agricultural practices to climate change was emphasized. Whatever adaptation practices you are undertaking for adapting these crops to climate change, make sure that genetic diversity is not hampered. Adaptation is necessary. Without it, there will be a lot of losses. But in the process of adapting, just don't forget to maintain the genetic diversity. That should also not get compromised. Global forest security. Commission also discussed policies aimed at strengthening forest security, and that has to be done globally, and sustainable farming and forestry. So sustainable farming practices should be practiced so that they are environment friendly also, and on the other hand genetic diversity is also maintained. The major reports launched. So there were 2 reports which were launched. Third report on state of the world's plant genetic resources for food and agriculture, and second report on the state of the world's forest genetic resources. This was launched on 26 March 2025 and this one was launched on 24th March 2025. So let's discuss the first report, that is Plant Genetic Resources Report. It assesses the global trends, conservation efforts and challenges related to plant genetic resources. It includes case studies on successful seed saving initiatives, modern breeding techniques and advancements in policies for crop diversity. So it is also believed that the various seeds of very important plants have been conserved in some Scandinavian country, so that if there is a catastrophe in this planet, life could restart on this planet. There are few people on the earth who know about that conservation of those seeds or those, I would say, genes in that Scandinavian country. I think Norway they are stored, or wherever they are stored, that if any damage happens on the entire planet, those seeds are there, and by planting those seeds, life could restart. It emphasizes the role of farmers, indigenous communities and institutions in preserving agricultural biodiversity. Then Forest Genetic Resources Report. This report evaluates global forest biodiversity, focusing on the role of genetic diversity in sustainable forest management and climate adaptation. It introduces a new global information system for tracking forest genetic resources. The genetic resources in the forest, they are also very important, because crops are there, but in forest there are many other things on which we depend as humans. Now, importance of genetic resources. Food security and biodiversity. Food security will be there, biodiversity will be maintained. Biodiversity means there are less chances of going extinct or population is reducing. Food security in changing times. Now, this genetic diversity will help us maintain the productivity. That is why it is there. Genetic resources are the foundation of food security, biodiversity and sustainable agriculture. Conservation of these resources is critical for ensuring global food security in the face of climate change, pests, diseases and deforestation. There are two major challenges. First is climate change, second is deforestation and other environmental stresses that threaten both crop and forest genetic diversity. These challenges have to be tackled. Now, in brief about this particular organization also, the Commission for Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture. It was created in 1983 by the Food and Agricultural Organization, FAO, to address issues related to plant genetic resources. FAO is a specialized agency under United Nations. Expanded mandate. Over time, its mandate has been expanded to include all sectors of genetic resources for food and agriculture, including plant, animal, forest, aquatic and microbial genetic resources. Cross-cutting topics. Commission also addresses food security, climate change, access to genetic resources, benefit sharing and digital sequence information on genetic resources. It has 179 members and India is one of the members. So, this is what we need to know about this particular organization. Now, coming on to the MCQs. Now, consider the following statements with respect to gold monetization scheme and mark the correct one. It was launched in 2015 with one of the objectives of reducing India's current account deficit. Upon maturity, the deposited gold can be withdrawn in the same form. Only one, only two, both one and two, neither one nor two. Second, which of these is a feature of National VIDHAN application? It will increase transparency, it will increase sustainability. It is available in English and Hindi only. Find the correct combination. Third, consider the following statements about NEVA and mark the correct one. NEVA is hosted on Meghraj 2.0. NEVA is being implemented by Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs. Only one, only two, both one and two, neither one nor two. Which of these phenomena can pose challenges to genetic diversity of crops? Climate change or deforestation? Only one, only two, both one and two, neither one nor two. Fifth, which organization established the Commission for Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture? World Meteorological Organization, United Nations Environment Plan, Food and Agricultural Organization or none of the above. Now, MCQs of yesterday. Consider the following statements with respect to FATF, means Financial Action Task Force, and mark the correct one. It was established in 1989 by G7 countries. Yes, this is absolutely right. FATF dealt with money laundering only during its initial years. Yes, and after the 9/11 attacks, it started dealing with the counter financing of terrorist activities. So, both the statements are correct, hence both 1 and 2. Where is FATF headquartered? It is headquartered in France, but it is not in Lyon. It is in Paris. So, this is wrong, hence none of the above is the correct option over here. Third, which of these countries is a non-participant in IAS Sagar? Mauritius is participant, Mozambique is a participant, Maldives is a participant, Eritrea is not a participant in IOS Sagar. Eritrea is a participant in the other exercise, that is Africa India KEY, Key Maritime Engagement, IKME. So A is the correct option over here. Fourth, which of these are the main goals of Sagar policy? Main goals means explicitly they have been mentioned. Economic growth, security and growth for all in the region. Region is Indian Ocean region. So growth, economic growth will be there. Tackling climate change has not been explicitly mentioned, but yes, support for disasters is there, and disasters are increasing due to climate change. So explicitly support for climate change or tackling climate change is not part of the Sagar policy explicitly, that is why it is not correct. Capacity building, yes, it is there, and countering Chinese influence, it is also one of the main objective. So 1, 3 and 4 is the correct option, that is B. Where are the peace talks for Russia and Ukraine going on? This is a very straightforward question. No need to, go into the details. It is Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, where these talks are happening. So, with this, we have come to an end of today's session. I will be meeting you tomorrow now with more such informative news pieces. Till then, you guys very well know what to do. Keep studying, keep reading, keep writing, and most importantly, keep revising. Namaste. Jai Hind.